Shalom. My name is Gidon and Abigail, and I'm here with Abigail, who had a question for me. So I decided to answer it. I usually like to answer questions. And we think that some of you might also like to hear my take on these questions. So Abigail has agreed that we should record it, and it will be featured on Root Source. Yeah, so Abigail, you asked about the World Zionist Congress because I had
Yeah.
been elected a delegate to the World Zionist Congress a few, I was actually, was I elected a few months ago, weeks ago? I don't remember. And I started by saying that not only am I a delegate to the World Zionist Congress, I'm also a delegate to the Likud's Central Committee. The Likud, of course, is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's party. It is the leadership center-right party in Israel. And there are about 2,000 or so members of that committee, and so I'm one of
Wow.
the members of it, and I actually was reelected now for the third time. Luckily, there are no term limits on that position. But you asked about the WZC, the World Zionist Congress.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the World Zionist Congress is the elected body that oversees the World Zionist Organization. We'll get back to it in a second, but first, the World Zionist Organization was established by none other than Theodor Herzl, who was the founder of the modern Zionist movement. So he came up with this idea to create a Zionist movement. The Zionist movement means, pardon the expression, a movement to move the Jewish
Mhm.
people towards the land of Israel and establish a state, a Jewish
Right.
state for themselves. He established it primarily because of rampant anti-Semitism that was going on, of all places, in France at the time. He himself was born in Hungary, but he was from Vienna. I'm not sure exactly. I have friends who have doctorates in Herzl. In any case, he decided to create this Zionist organization around the turn of the century, about the 1890s, and he invited Jews from all over the world, and hundreds of them came to this first Congress, which he held in a place called Basel, Switzerland.
Mhm.
And that's where they created the Basel platform, or maybe it was a little later, don't remember. But that was the idea, that we should have an organization to help us establish a state in the land of Israel. And they, after a while, decided that they would create a thing called a bank, a Zionist bank, which ultimately became Bank Leumi in Israel. And there should be an organization that helps to acquire land in the land of Israel. And that became the Keren Kayemet L'Israel, the Jewish National Fund. And there were probably other things that I forget right now. So all of those things. Then, and so they would meet, I think, every 4 years or something like that and try to promote their shared goal. And there were arguments, but ultimately, and of course,
Yeah.
tragically, during the Holocaust, they didn't meet. And tragically, the first Zionist Congress following the Holocaust, there were a lot of delegates that didn't show up, the ones who had
Mhm.
been at the previous Zionist Congress before the Holocaust. And I think it's obvious why not. They did not stop becoming Zionists. They stopped being.
Yeah.
Anyway, incredibly, a few years, not barely a decade. What do you mean barely a decade? Barely 5 years after the end of the Holocaust, the state of Israel was established. And Herzl's dream of a Jewish state in the land of Israel was realized.
He
So,
was no longer alive I'm
oh
sorry.
no
He
no
was
no no, he was in his 40s when he established the
okay.
Zionist movement in 1890s,
Right.
and died of a heart attack before he was 50 in
Oh, so he didn't live.
1903 or 1904.
Okay. So he did not live to see his dream
He did not
come
live to see
true.
his dream. He did not live to see his dream, I will say another something interesting that he kept a diary, and
Mhm.
when he convened the first Zionist Congress, he wrote in his diary that not too many people will believe me if I say it today, and maybe not in 5 years, but in 50 years, certainly everybody will clearly say that in Basel, I established the Jewish state.
Hmm.
He wrote that in 1898, maybe 1897.
Wow.
50 years later was 1948, when in fact the state of Israel was found. So he had a little bit of prophecy in that statement.
That's almost like a jubilee.
Exactly. I also have to mention here that I took a tour of the Zionist archives in Jerusalem, and they brought us to the room of Herzl. It's not the room of Herzl. Herzl was never in that room. The building itself was built, I think, in the 70s or in the 90s or something like that. But it was a room of Herzl's personal things, and there it was, his handwriting in his handwritten diary with that sentence.
Hmm.
So when I saw that, I got chills. I said,
Wow.
"Wow, amazing!" The actual artifact. Anyway, so that is the World Zionist Organization and the World Zionist Congress. Now, when the State of Israel was established and founded, so what do you do when you have a nonprofit organization that has a vision and you achieve that vision? Some nonprofit organizations will close down. But since the State of Israel was still, if you would have been around in 1948 or 1947,
Mhm.
when your State of Israel was just announced on Friday, and on Saturday, 5 armies attack you, then you're not so sure. And so miraculously, we survived the 1948 war, and we also did a lot of other miracles in that first decade of Israel. But not enough people from around the world were making Aliyah, were moving to Israel, and so they decided to say, we will modify the mission statement of the World Zionist Congress and the World Zionist Organization, not to establish a state, but to support that state. And really, it also expanded to support Jews all over the world. So
Hmm.
ever since then, that's 70 years ago or something like that, close to 80 years ago, Israel has become stronger. So Israel is really supporting the Jewish diaspora more than the Jewish diaspora is supporting Israel.
How, if I can ask, so how are they supporting the Jews in the diaspora? What does that look
It,
like?
it looks like many, 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 many different things. One thing that comes to mind, the state of Israel, through the World Zionist Organization, sends emissaries, teachers, to teach about Israel, Hebrew, in diaspora communities around the world. So people go there for a year,
Okay.
2 years, whatever, like that kind of thing. That's one thing, for example. Or, for example, right now there's a lot of anti-Semitism going on in the world. So the World Zionist Organization has a department in its fight against anti-Semitism. So exactly what they do, I'm not sure. One thing's for sure, they have a budget and they're doing something. So that's the way it looks.
Do they help Jews who want to make Aliyah?
Oh, of course, that is their main function. Well, actually, there's another organization that's called the World Zionist Organization. Another organization is called the Jewish Agency. So
Hmm.
I'm not really sure exactly what the difference is, but I think the Jewish Agency is the one that is more hands-on in trying to help Jews make Aliyah to the land of Israel, to the state of Israel.
So is Nefesh B'Nefesh um, somehow connected to all of this?
Yes. So I think what happened is that at some point, I think in the 2000s, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't remember exactly how long ago. Up until that point, the uh, bureaucracy that was running the Aliyah process was, let's call it, a little clash in expectations. The Americans had a certain expectation, and the Israelis had a different expectation. So their culture didn't really mesh. So a couple of Jewish activists, actually from Florida, said, we got to make this a better deal. So they came up with all sorts of ideas, ways to make it much more user friendly. And that became Nefesh B'Nefesh.
Okay.
But they wisely, instead of saying we're going to try to do this without the Jewish agency and try to put them out of business, which is what some people thought they were trying to do, they said, no, 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 no. We're going to work with the Jewish agency. And in a very good example of how to finesse stepping on other people's toes, that is the situation that is until now. Nefesh B'Nefesh, like you mentioned, is modern organization
Mhm.
that is actually based in Israel to promote and to help people to make Aliyah, and they're doing. I think they're doing a pretty good job. So that is the World Zionist Organization. So the World Zionist Congress meets every 4 years or so with delegates from every Jewish community around the world. I don't know if there were 50 countries represented, 100 countries represented. It's basically Israel gets about a third of the delegates because we're the biggest Jewish community. United States gets about a quarter, a little bit less than Israel, and the rest of the world gets all the rest. So altogether, they get about 500 delegates to this event, to this
Wow.
Congress. Some states only get one lone delegate. I think this is the first year that Ethiopia has a delegate or something like that. I don't know, Kathmandu, I have no idea. All sorts of people over there. And so we went there for a day or two, and we had a few different deliberations, and there was some politics going on that I won't bore anybody with. For me, it's not boring. It's absolutely fascinating, but for most people, it's boring. And now that the Congress is over, the executive committee of the World Zionist Organization has been elected by that Congress.
Okay.
And they are going to be doing the work, most of the work, for about 4 years. And maybe from time to time they'll call us in. But maybe I will be invited to be a delegate on a subcommittee or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. If I'll take this opportunity to talk about the Likud party and my position there as a member of the Central Committee.
Sure.
So I am very proud to be a member of the Central Committee of the Likud party. The Likud party, in my opinion, is the country's only center-right leadership democratic party. Democratic means that it is elected by its membership, as opposed to non-democratic. Again, the way that I describe it, non-democratic parties do not have institutions, and the only person who calls the shots in a non-democratic party is the leader of the party. He decides who are going to be the candidates for the party in the various races. He decides what the policies of the party is. He decides what political moves they're going to do. Are they going to join the coalition? Are they going to accept a deal that only gives them one minister, or are they going to hold out for two ministers? All sorts of things like that. And it's one guy. Maybe he talks to his wife. The Likud party, on the other hand, has a number of institutions. The Central Committee is the largest institution with about 3,000 members, and we decide what the policies of the Likud must be. There's a secretariat which decides what's going on in the party. Should it do this? How should it be framed? That kind of thing. And there's also a political bureau which sounds a little 1940s in the Eastern Europe, but that in principle is the party is the body that has philosophical discussions and decides what the general direction of the party should be. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And there's also an internal party a court that if people within the party have problems that they can sue each other and that is seen in front of the internal Likud party court. If one of the parties, parties of that disagreement feel uncomfortable, they can take it to an Israeli court, and that happens sometimes. It happens most of the time, but not most of the time, but often. That's it. So it's a robust party, and yesterday we had our elections for that central committee, and I'm very pleased to say that the list that I was on got in, and so I'm in for another 4 years. It looks like, more or less.
So what is the list and who is actually doing the electing? Is this an election via all of Israel, or is it just people in the Likud party
Excellent,
or who
excellent,
support
excellent
it?
question. Excellent question. So the again, I won't get in too deep with the exceptions, but the main rule is that the Likud has about 200 branches in
Wow.
all of the cities and communities, most of them in Israel. There are probably some places that don't have Likud representatives, but that's okay. And so each party, like for example, I'm a member of the Likud branch in Ma'ale Adumim, which is the
Mhm.
city that I used to live in up until about a decade ago. It's about 20 minutes east of Jerusalem. There's about 40,000 residents, and it's a very strong Likud town. In the past, over half of the votes cast in the national election in Ma'ale Adumim were cast for the Likud party. So according to the algorithm that the Likud constitution clarified, we were entitled to about 20 seats out of the 3,000 in our
Mm.
branch. So I went to a few of the other. We're a happy and friendly group over there in Ma'ale Adumim. I recognized that I had a certain amount of strength in the local branch. You asked who votes, and the answer is all of the members of Likud. It costs 64 shekels a year to be a member, and then you're entitled to participate in certain elections and votes. So I voted for. So what happened was that instead of having elections where all of my people would vote for me and my list, and all of that guy's people would vote for him and his list, and let's say, like I said, let's say we had 20 seats that we were fighting over, so I would bring 4 people on the list, hoping that I would get them all in, and somebody else would bring 6, and somebody else would bring 12, and then so altogether out of 20 seats, we would have about 25 people running, right? So I said, listen, who am I going to bring the people? I'm doing all the work over here. It's enough that I bring one person. So that's what I said. Me and some other guy, and the guy in charge who was doing the negotiations basically was able to bring all the different groups, not too many of them, get them down off the tree a little bit. And so we had only 20 people running for the places, and we only had 20 places. So there was no need to bring everybody out on the rainiest day in Israeli history.
Baruch
So,
Hashem for
but
rain.
but other party, and that happened in about half of the branches. But in another half of the branches, there were elections. So it was a an exciting day in the elections for the people that it impacted.
So this is a completely separate election from the national elections.
Oh yes, no, not completely. In other words,
Yeah.
it's related in that
Right.
the central committee will choose will choose some of the people on the national list in the national elections. Very, I say some. Really, they help many of the rank and file. We have open primaries for most of the seats on the list, most of the places on the list. So, like, let's say my cousin is a member of the member of the Likud party, but he doesn't care about it so much. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, primary day comes. He says, "Gidon, who should I vote for?" I said, I'm glad that you're asking. And I give him a list of people that he should vote for. Most of them he has never even heard of, but I know about them. And that's, I think, the way that most of the rank and file Likud members vote anyway. So, really, the Likud Central Committee members have a very strong impact on the formation of the national list.
It's fascinating.
I'm glad you like it, and I hope that some of the other
Yeah.
people here like it as well. I have another meeting coming up, and I think I've
Okay.
answered your question. So
Yes,
I'm going
you
to
did.
invite everybody who made it through to the end of this video. If you made it through the end of the video, that means you're probably more interested in politics than the average person. So if you have any other questions, please send them to me at Root Source. Okay. Anything else, Abigail?
No, just shalom, shalom.
That's how I end it every time. Shalom, shalom. Toda rabah. Thank you very much. Okay, and we'll
Tודה
be in
רבה.
touch, Abigail. Shalom, shalom.